switch gears because we got T-Foss here, and then if you do not, bombard the man with some basketball questions that we all have.
Yeah.
And there's a couple interesting ones, but the first one that I always want to ask you, and I haven't had a chance to ask you in passing, the J.D. Bickerstaff signing. Do you like it?
I do from the standpoint that he's here to develop players, and that's what he's done before. He did it in Cleveland. I don't look at the Pistons as a team that's going to contend for the playoffs anytime soon. But they have a bunch of players who can't play defense, and I think Bickerstaff is going to at least put a defensive starting block in for them, and that could be the catalyst for them becoming good. You had a coach here who didn't want to be here. He's showing up, getting his paychecks, but Bickerstaff at least wants to be here. He wants to prove that he can do something. If he can do something with the Pistons, that's going to really elevate his presence in the National Basketball Association. But this is a guy that's going to preach playing defense, and I think they need a younger voice, and Bickerstaff is that younger voice that they need to hear. So I applaud the decision to hire him.
So you need buy-in, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, this being
Right.
a young team and stuff like this. So I asked you, I asked earlier when we were talking about the summer league. Is there anything that you can take from it? Would you start seeing a little, what is Terry Foster? How do you assess what you just said? Like, where you see the defensive and obviously as the games come and they don't allow as many points and stuff like this, but when you're talking about that fundamental defensive mentality that wasn't there,
Right.
how do we see that as fans?
Well, you can see it in summer league because even though these guys won't be on the roster, you can see a blueprint in place for these guys playing a certain style of defense.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're teaching it to these guys who are not going to be on the roster, they're eventually going to teach it to guys like Ivy and Jalen Duren. So guys that are actually going to be on the roster, they're going to have the same concepts, and so that will, you will see that, and that's going to make the Pistons a better team.
No, I 100%. You brought up Jalen Ivey. Is there in Terry? You've been around this game, right? I don't understand. I never get it. Is well, these guys can't be on the floor together, or they do too much of the same thing or whatever like that. To me, talent's talent. You find a way to get your best players on the court. Is
true. But let me just say that's baloney.
What's baloney?
What you can't have guys on the court at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
But
good.
With that said, I would start Cunningham and Ivy. But what I would do is I would stagger them throughout the game. So I would have Cunningham out there, then give him a blow, have Ivy out there, because what that does is it gives the opponent a different look. Cade is going to be deliberate, and so and that's fine. But then, and Ivy, I know we criticize him because he turns the ball over too much and he's buggish, but it gives the opponent a different look. They're like, oh man, we were just chilling. Now we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why I would stagger them. But if the game is tight at the end, I'd put them back together.
So the rotation and stuff like this. What about the draft and the young guys that they got?
Ron Holland.
As far as do you
Bobby
find these
Clinton
guys being a part of it, not world beaters, but role players,
rotational players,
rotational guys?
I didn't have. I was like most experts. I didn't have a lot of respect for this draft. So what you do is you get your role players, and role players, pardon the pun, play a big role if you're going to become a good team. So everybody doesn't have to be a superstar, but you have to have somebody who's going to defend, hit an occasional three, and I think that's what they got in the draft this year. And I think we're going to have a little surprise. What's his name? Clinton?
Yeah, yep. Bobby Clinton. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be a little sneaky dude.
Yeah.
So how much How much better? So right now you're telling me that we've improved. Like all you can ask for is like in the off season.
Yeah.
Has this team improved? How much with the new coach, with the draft, with with the system? How much improvement do you see for this Pistons team this year?
Okay, I'm gonna smack myself.
Okay.
But I see dramatic improvement from this standpoint. One, you got a coach who wants to be here.
Yep.
B, you're not going to waste the first half of the season playing.
Killian
I just
Hayes.
went blank.
Killian Hayes.
Yeah, Killian Hayes.
Yep.
You're not. He's not going to be on the floor. In fact, I heard they won't even let him in the building. He could put money down for a ticket and they won't let him in.
Wow. That bad.
That's how bad he was.
That bad.
It was bad.
How around the room, like just middle of summer, real quick? How many more wins this year do the Pistons have?
I'm in agreement with Terry. I think it could be over 30 wins for this team this year.
Yeah. My magic number is 32.
32.
32. I'm
I'm
not mad at
being
that.
aggressive.
I
but
think they're gonna at least double their win total from last year.
Yeah.
Were they 14?
Yeah, at least. It sounds crazy, but you only won 14 games, so
Yeah.
at least
No,
20.
Spinny said, they're going to win 15. They're going to do a lot better than 15.
No, Spinny got a pulse, man.
At least 28 wins is what I'm saying.
I got 29. Flannel has to buy me lunch.
29.
29, so that Flannel has to buy me lunch. We have a bet on 28 and a half.
That's a comfortable.
Oh, wow.
DraftKings put them at 24 and a half for their over/under.
Damn, I got a bad number.
Did anybody remember what they had them at last year?
27 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Oh, they're over like crazy. They're over."
Right.
Right.
Real
But it
quick,
was never
because
supposed to be
this
that
came
bad.
across and I sort of chuckled at this. But to Terry's point about whether it's a coach or player, that you want guys that want to be here and go out and get your role players.
And the coach
Can
who
you
wants to be here.
elaborate on this, Patrick Beverly? The
Man.
Brad Marchand of the NBA,
Man.
which means rat, Tammy. Patrick Beverly chooses to go play in which war-torn country?
Israel. Yeah.
He went to play basketball in Israel.
Yeah, so here is the report. It's Patrick Beverly received interest from the Detroit Pistons and Houston Rockets for the veteran minimum over the last few days, but he preferred Hapoel Tel Aviv because the challenge to win both Israel League and the Euro Cup, according to Sports Alt G. And yeah, so he was the veteran minimum for a 12-year veteran like Patrick Beverly would have been around $3.3 million a season. He signed a contract with an Israel team for 2 years, $4 million. So not only is he going to play in a war-torn country, he's doing it for less money than he would have received for the Pistons.
He must have been deported or something, because that makes absolutely no sense.
It does.
And here's the other little dirty little secret. You may or may not get paid when you go overseas.
Yeah, for
they
real.
don't pay you all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's the risk he runs, though. But, I mean, good riddance, man. Like,
I hate Patrick
it's not like he was some transcendent talent. I mean, he was a solid role player. And I'm not a Patrick Beverly hater by any means, but he wouldn't have done that much more for this Pistons team. I don't necessarily view him as a leader or somebody that can really, really help the young guys. So if he didn't want to take the vet minimum, which I think he was probably just trying to ring chase, and he couldn't get a contract from a contender, so he just chose to go overseas, then so be it, man. Good riddance.
Yeah, but if you win a ring in Israel, does that really count?
No.
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 That may get him.
To him, it does.
Yeah, it may get him back into the NBA.
You know what? Yeah, maybe he didn't want to compete.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why he left.
I think the Pistons were looking to get him at a veteran minimum to be a bench guy, a voice in the locker room, probably not too much of a contributor on the court.
Yeah.
I think he wants to actually play basketball still. That's the only reason I can make sense
Little
of it.
yappy dog on the bench.
Yeah, that's the only reason I can make, because he took less money to go play in a war-torn country.
Makes no sense.
The only reason I can make sense of it is he wants actual playing time.
Chase that ring in Israel.
Yeah.
Right. Have fun.
Patrick Beverly, enjoy the motherland, my friend.
You're right.
And to your
he
point,
might have
Terry,
screwed
I don't
himself.
know about NBA or any basketball or anything, but
It's the
hockey,
best
when
league in
guys
the
used to
world.
Go to Russia and stuff.
That's false.
Some of the places, you might want to get your cash up front.
Yeah, he might get
Yeah,
Brittany
that's true.
Griner.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, you
What
get
I
free
heard.
housing
I
overseas.
Might get bombed, but
I was about to say.
might get bombed up. But I mean, yeah, that's on him, man. But he might have just made a big mistake in terms of if he wants to go over here and then has plans to come back to the NBA. you might have just screwed yourself.
Yeah. And the best part of this is 4 years ago, Patrick Beverley had the infamous quote to Steph Curry. The last 5 years were yours. The next 5 years are mine. He looked at Steph Curry. Steph Curry is leading Team USA, and Patrick Beverley's playing in Israel.
Maybe he came here and met with some Piston players, and they said, dude, we don't want to play with you. Get the hell out of here.
You're right.
I don't know.